September 11th, 2001, the day TSA was needed. 5:45 a.m., the terrorists go through security. Ramzi Youssef, Muhammad Salameh, Abdul Yassin, Mahmoud Abu Halima, Ahmed Ajad, Nidal Ayad, and Iyad Ismail were all terrorists among the tragedies of 9/11. They allegedly used box knife under 4 inches, which airport security allowed at the time. They then proceeded to take down both twin towers. At 8:46 a.m., Flight 11 hits the North Tower. At 9:03 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 hits the South Tower. At 9:47 a.m., Flight 77 crashes into the Pentagon. 10:03 a.m., Flight 93 avoids hitting the Capitol and crashes into field. This was the last of the 4 planes that were in the events of 9/11. 2,996 people died in the events of 9/11 and many more from cancer due to breathing in dust. On November 19, 2001, George W. Bush signed the Aviation Transportation Security Act. The Aviation and Transportation Security Act was a landmark piece of U.S. federal legislation passed in 2001 following the September 11th terrorist attacks. Its primary goal was to enhance the security of the nation's aviation and transportation systems. The ATSA established the Transportation Security Administration, TSA, within the U.S. Department of Transportation. The TSA is responsible for overseeing and implementing security measures at airports, on aircraft, and within other transportation sectors. The TSA's missions include screening passengers, baggage, and cargo, and it plays a significant role in developing policies and procedures to prevent terrorist attacks. One of the Act's main objectives was to improve security at airports and airports checkpoints. The TSA took over security operations previously handled by private contractors, implementing new and stricter screening processes for both passengers and baggage. The Act led to the introduction of metal detectors, X-ray machines, and later more advanced technologies such as full-body scanners and explosive trace detection devices. The Act imposed stricter requirements on passenger and baggage screening, including random searches and the use of additional screening methods for passengers suspected of posing a security threat. The ATSA led to the introduction of no-fly lists and watch lists to identify individuals who may be associated with terrorism or other criminal activities. The ATSA also placed greater emphasis on air cargo security, requiring better screening and monitoring of cargo shipments. Airlines and cargo companies were mandated to improve their security practices to prevent terrorist activities from exploiting the air cargo system. The ATSA also addressed the issue of passenger profiling. While profiling based on race or ethnicity was prohibited, the TSA developed certain behavioral analysis techniques to identify suspicious activities. It also established guidelines related to passengers' rights, particularly in situations where passengers are subjected to enhanced screening. Another key provision in the ATSA was the requirement to harden the cockpit doors of commercial aircraft, making them more resistant to unauthorized access. This was a direct response to the hijackings of the September 11th attacks, where terrorists took control of the planes by breaching the cockpit doors. The ATSA fundamentally changed the way aviation security is handled in the U.S. and laid the foundation for many of the security procedures that are still in place today, such as the Transportation Security Administration, airport screening processes, and cargo security protocols. Airports have the responsibility of implementing TSA and keeping our nation safe. They practice this by implementing things such as full-body scanners to make sure nobody will be a threat or hijack things so we can avoid having another 9/11 happen. Citizens have the right to abide by these rules by following the rules of TSA. December 22, 2001, American Airlines Flight 63 had a passenger who did not follow these rules. This passenger's name was Richard Reed. Just months after the attacks of 9/11, he hid bombs in his shoes and attempted to blow up the entire plane. Luckily, some brave passengers held him down before making an emergency landing. You might be wondering how he got through, speaking that when you go through airport security, you're required to take off your shoes unless you have TSA pre-check or clear. Well, it's actually because of Richard Reed that we have to take off our shoes when we go through security. They implemented this after he almost blew up the plane. Nowadays, some people argue that we don't need TSA because it's a waste of time and simply not needed anymore. The Department of Homeland Security conducted a test called Red Team. These tests were to simulate terrorist attacks and assess the vulnerabilities in U.S. security systems, including airports and other transportation networks. These Red Team exercises are a part of an ongoing effort by DHS to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of security measures in the United States. Red Teams typically consist of DHS agents or contractors trying to simulate adversaries, often using tactics and methods that real terrorist groups might employ. In these exercises, the Red Teams, posing as terrorists, attempt to carry out attacks using methods that might mimic real-world terrorist tactics. These could include attempting to bypass security checkpoints, smuggling weapons or explosives onto aircraft, or exploiting other security loopholes. The goal of these exercises is to test the vulnerabilities in U.S. security systems, particularly in areas that are hard to assess in normal operational circumstances. The tests help to identify weaknesses that could be exploited by terrorists. The results of these exercises are used to improve security protocols, change procedures, or develop new technologies to prevent terrorists from successfully carrying out attacks. Most of the times, these tests have shown a high failure rate. This is why people believe that we should get rid of TSA, when really they're just trying to make it better. Those people don't realize how strong TSA really is, and Homeland Security uses their weaknesses against them. This is why TSA is needed nowadays, and 9/11 changed airport security for the better.